Hello and welcome back to Genesis Designs and Modelcraft, and today I'm going to do a Book of Genesis video, and it's going to be a super basic one, so I'll apologise in advance for all of you guys that already know everything I'm about to say, but this is aimed at newer or more beginner modelers, so you know, if that's not you, I'm sorry, move on to the next one. But today I'm going to talk about basic tools, and when I say basic I mean basic. I mean the stuff you pick up and chuck in the top of a kit when you're on your way to model club, for those of us that are lucky enough to have one. So I'm just going to actually quickly lay these out for you. So nippers, knives, tweezers and incidentals. That really is it. Okay, so let's talk about each one, shall we? We'll start with the knives. I think it's such an integral part of modelling, isn't it? The scalpel. You need something to trim your parts with, to trim the spruce stubs off, to do scraping and shaping, and these are the ones I use. So very obviously, simply, Swan Morton number 3 handles, as denoted here. This one I've owned forever. I had this when I was a kid. I have no idea where it came from. So you know, I've literally been making models with this thing for well over 30 years, and it has got to the point where it fits my hand. It's, if I show you in comparison to this one, and I know this is a newer one, but you can see that this is thicker and chunkier and squarer. It does not fit my hand as well. I can tell which is which just by picking them up. I don't need to look at them. But these do go through iterations over history. They're all slightly different, but I set them up. The main one has the number 11 blade in it, and the backup one has the number 15 with the rounder end. I use the 15 for carving, for scraping, end work like a chisel, and for photo etch, cutting photo etch parts from their frets. I use this one for everything else. Now with blades for these, you probably can get aftermarket blades that aren't made or sold by Swan Morton, but I wouldn't recommend it. Swan Morton blades are very, very good, and they come in these little foil sachets. You get 5 blades in each, and you can buy these at the majority of hobby stores. Probably have these kicking about, but what I would recommend that you do, unless you're a super occasional modeler, is buy them like this. Get a whole box. There's 100 packets in here, I think that's right. No, there's 20. There's 20 packs, so you get 100 blades. And if you check on Amazon or eBay, you can pick these up sometimes for as little as around sort of 10 to 15 English pounds, which makes each blade very, very cheap, and a lot cheaper than if you buy them by the sachet. So from there, we're going to look at nippers. Nippers are a very personal thing, I find. My preference is Tamiya nippers, which are these. This is my older pair. It's just been replaced by this pair, and you can see that they are actually slightly different. This pair's got a longer, slimmer blade, and is actually slightly slimmer from that aspect as well. These cost, for reference, these are MH, that's Mike Hotel 17 Sierra, and these are KU2 for plastic. Note, says on there for plastic. Don't cut wire with these, not even very thin, very soft wire, because it will leave circular impressions in the blade and ruin them. These cost somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds a set, and I agree that that is a lot of money, but you will use these every single time you sit down and work on a model. So how they work and how they feel in your hand, it matters to some extent. I prefer to work with quality tools. That's my preference. Your mileage may vary. This pair have been in use for around about 2 years. I find I have to replace these roughly every year or two. This pair, the much vaunted DSPIAE, DISCO nippers. I bought these because everybody was going on about them. Look how fine they are. They are beautiful, and these are a single edge nipper, so these cut, whereas this kind a double edge, and you tend to get a little bit of a pull between the parts as you cut. These actually are like scissors in effect. The thing with these is they are nice, but they're insanely fragile as well as being insanely expensive and quite short, and truthfully I just don't get on as well with them as I do the Tamiya, so I stopped using them, but they are an option. Different scalpel handle option. These are, I've always known them as Exolite, which if I come up is the brand on here. You do well to find branded ones of these nowadays. They seem to only be the cheap and nasty ones, but I don't like scalpeling with the round handle, but I do use these for all manner of other things. As you can see, this one has a very fine photo etched saw attached, and this is just a piece of a needle which is blunted, and I use this for poking rivets. But I'm showing you these because these are very easily available, and I think possibly cheaper than the Swan Morton option. Tweezers then, another super important tool. Again, something I really struggle to model without nowadays, along with glasses, because I can't see anything. This is from a set that I got off Amazon. It was a set of several sets of tweezers for very cheap. Nominally the brand is Pixnor, but I'll put an Amazon link down below for these. They're cheap. They're not the best, but actually you'll find again that you'll find a pair that sort of fits your hand and you use them a lot, and that's this pair, and these have been in use for quite a while now. And then incidentals. My mat dirty. The ubiquitous cocktail stick. Where would we be without cocktail sticks? Obviously you can pick these up in any supermarket, pretty much any hardware store, pretty much anywhere you go really you can get cocktail sticks, but all cocktail sticks are not equal. The majority of the cheaper ones you can buy in supermarkets are made of bamboo, which is all three of these are, and they're not preferable, they're weaker, they're not as good as proper wood ones are. So if you can find cocktail sticks that are the proper wooden kind, then go for those over the bamboo sort. And then cotton buds. Again, all cotton buds are not equal. These I get from Amazon. These are environmentally friendly ones. They come in environmentally friendly packaging, and they're made from wood, so you can throw them away without too much guilt. Cheap ones have very flexible shafts, and they tend to shed fibres from the tips with boring regularity, and also they don't last very long in use. So cheaper ones, not necessarily a saving that's worth making, I think. But again, your mileage may vary. And finally, what else will I take to the model club with me? Sanding sticks. Got a few here. These are the ones that are sort of in use all the time, as you can see by the state they're in. There's a models for sale orange sponge sander. These come in sets. There's 9 or 10 different sanding things in a set for a £5. Very good value. This is one of the others, sanding board. You get a couple of those in the set. And these are Flooring Models skinny sanders, which I absolutely love. This one is a combination of a foam and a board, and this is just a board. And if I show you the packaging, this is how they come. So check out Flooring Models if you fancy some of those. They have various different grades and grits. You should find something there to suit your needs. So that's my basic tools, and these, as you can probably imagine, have been garnered and gathered over many years, and are somewhat frequently replaced. But recently I came across this. It's actually Jonathan Mock on the Interesting Modelling Company that sort of started putting it out there, but this is a little set of tools that you can buy off Amazon. Again, I'll link something below, but they change all the time, so it might not be the exact same one. This set was £8.99. It's dirt cheap. and you get some nippers. Clearly these aren't Tamiya quality nippers, but if you don't currently own nippers, they will do the job. You get a glasses cleaning cloth for some reason. A little X-Lite style scalpel handle, and this one is attractively anodised in blue, and it has a blade cover which is nice. There's a little box there with some spare blades in it. A couple of pairs of tweezers. A sort of a diamond-like file with a coarse and a very coarse sanding board, and a sanding sponge, which is a polishing sponge. So it's got, this is for fingernails. This is where these came from, the Ladies Beautification, for polishing fingernails. So there's a somewhat rough one, a fine one, and a super fine one, and you can use these for polishing canopies. It's probably almost worth £8.99 just for that. The board itself, again, these did originate from Nail Beauty. I can't remember. That side is around about a 180 grip. That side is probably about a 120. So that's quite coarse, but ideal actually for sanding super glue and super glue and talc filler. The file is just a flat, pretend sort of diamond coating file. These tweezers are actually the same type, I think, as the ones I use. A longer one and a curved end one. Pretend X-Lite, you just twist the end and the blade will slot out. So it works like a pin vise. And that one's got a bigger hole, so you could put drill bits in there as well. And now I won't be able to get the blade back in, but this is nominally a number 11 blade also. I'll do that in a minute. Put those back in there. And yeah, nippers. For nipping sprues and cutting off parts. And they work perfectly well. The ping factor is high, but they work perfectly well. I would only use these for nipping parts off though. I wouldn't use them for anything any more delicate than that. What a fantastic little set for the money, don't you think? If nothing else, those of us who already have all of these tools could probably bear spending the £8 or £9 that these kits cost for the sake of the little tub to take your tools to Model Club. And the last thing I'm going to talk about here, I'm thinking, should I meander off into adhesives? But truthfully, I think I should, because you can't go to Model Club with all your tools and not take any glue with you, can you? And here's a selection of the glues I have and that I use. But what I will quickly explain what they all do, but I'd like to stress that you really don't want to get too stuck into the whole which glue should I use thing, because ultimately it's glue. They all do the same thing. They all stick plastic together and they all do it really quite well. So ultimately the brand or the particular recipe isn't all that important. Apart from the caveat where it comes to the sort of liquid cement, to me is basically like Tamiya Extra Thin. It is, you can see it moving around in there. It's essentially like water. But Tamiya also do this white top one, which is a lot cheaper actually than their extra thins, and I hope you can see that it's somewhat gloopy. And this is, consistency wise, essentially like a Revel Contactor type cement. It's a little bit thicker, it takes a little bit longer to go off. Here's what I'm talking about with Revel Contactors, that style of thing with the applicator. Just got a slightly heavier body to it. And where I tend to use this is in the situations where I would use tube glue in the olden days. This is much better for gluing sort of larger parts together because it doesn't go off anywhere near as quickly. But bear that in mind that it won't set anywhere near as quickly either. When it comes to extra thins, I've got a MIG one here, an ammo one, and I've got the 2 Tamiya flavours. There's extra thin and extra thin quick setting. This is essentially just evaporates just a little bit quicker again than extra thin does, but they're both equally viable if used in the way that you use extra thin. And this is a MIG version. It's the same stuff. There's I think it's fair enough to have some sort of brand loyalty or affiliations with things, but ultimately, if you can't get any Tamiya extra thin, and that does happen quite frequently here in the UK, that no one's got any, then use MOF MIG, use AK, use Gunze Mr. S. I use that a lot when I can get it as well. Any of them, they all do the same thing, is all I'm trying to say really. And this particular jar of extra thin, I guarantee you, has got several other different bits and pieces of liquid glue in it, because if I find one that has a nice brush, which this one does, because they aren't all exactly the same, then I'll just keep on topping it up with whatever glue I've got that day. So there's the glue, and yeah, this is literally what will go in my box when I'm going off down the road to Model Club and I've got a kit and I'm going to fiddle with it. This is what I take. So this is basic tools. This is the tools you really do need to have to make a model, which is the thrust of the video. So this little set then is going to be part of the next channel giveaway, coming soon to a YouTube near you. Will be a giveaway which will include this set of tools. I'll chuck in some cotton buds, I'll chuck in some Tamiya tape. It will come also with a basic model kit and some paint as well. So I'm not going to attach that to this video, I think I'll give it its own little short video, but do look out for that if you fancy a little beginner's package to have a fiddle with down the Model Club or in the living room if you're allowed. And yeah, as I say, that will be coming soon. So there's your basic tools then. Hope that was helpful to some of you. Apologies if it wasn't. It only remains for me to say at this point, look after yourselves, look after each other. Genesis out.